morning, karibu sana to this edition of Morning Cafe. We always do this every morning, Monday to Friday. My name is Freddie Limuli. It is a rainy morning here in Nairobi.
And 49 days to the new year, by the way.
49 days to New Year. Okay,
yeah.
43 days.
43 days.
42 days to Christmas, actually.
Exactly. I was wondering, where is Ndimuli's countdown?
42 days to Christmas. Hey, tunaenda pole pole.
You know, you're waiting for the 30
yes.
mark.
Once you clock 30 days to Christmas, that's it. Then you can officially put up your Christmas tree.
You know, when you know Shanza though.
Mapema sana. Ngojeni kidogo.
Right. This is the Morning Cafe show. Ksh449M is my name. You're watching us on TV47. The hashtag is Morning Cafe TV47 Kenya. That's where you can find us on social media at Ksh449M at
Fred Ndimuli.
Ringita _. And the tagline is hotter than your coffee. You definitely need it for this very, very cold morning. Musical is standing Ringita quite a lot. We're going to be discussing tuanze na nyuma Tasty Wednesday.
Yes. We have Chef Brian in the house. Yeah, there he is.
Yes.
Mbugwa, actually.
Chef Mbugwa,
Sorry,
yes.
Chef Mbugwa. And I feel like last week we had a very interesting Tasty Wednesday session. We got turmeric rice, we got spinach, and we got chicken. Paprika chicken.
Okay.
To be precise.
Kenyeji chicken.
It was not. It was not. It was not Kenyeji.
Oh.
It was a broiler.
Next time you should try Kenyaji.
You know, yeah.
It takes longer to cook, so
You know we're heading towards Christmas, so we need
only Kenyeji.
Kenyaji.
All right.
All right.
And before that, long distance relationships. Kwanza na hii mvua. How are you surviving though? Yes.
Long distance.
Jen Gitau, Gabriel Nyamu will be here with us to help you understand if you're planning to be in a long distance or you're in one right now. Yes.
How to navigate through that.
It reminds me,
Challenges.
Samabanis are coming back to Kenya. Yes.
All right.
In case you're wondering who Samabanis are, that's the street slang for people who are in abroad and they're coming.
So this is when they're getting to see their better half.
Yes.
After
months.
A whole
being
year.
Away.
Yes.
Oh.
Sometimes, yeah, a whole year.
Interesting. Ile shida inakuja.
After being a keyboard warrior, now you.
All right.
And then now for State of the Nation.
State of the Nation, they're very interesting headlines and we'll be looking at them. We'll be having Anne Wamuratha, woman representative, Kiambu County, Stephen Munania, deputy governor of Muranga, and John Kanyuithia Mutunga, MP Tigania West. They will be in studio for the conversations that we're about to check out on the dailies. So a quick look at the dailies, and the Star starts with the Ruto's plan to get trailer support for 2027 race. So it's building up, and the discussion now has moved from the impeachment. It's now realignment for the 2027 political battles. What will that mean? Down there on the front page of the Star, we have MPs from Nairobi who had met President William Ruto yesterday, including James Gakuya of Embakasi
Who was here yesterday.
North, and Major Donk, also MPs who are aligned to the former deputy president. I wish they'll be back here next week. We'll ask them, mulikuwa mnafanya nini state house?
Apart from what you're showing us.
How digital lenders are spying on you, and that's the cover of the People Daily, the top story there, where it says predatory entities accused of illegally collecting contacts and personal data of borrowers and employing rogue agents who resort to threatening Kenyans. Wow. That is a very interesting story. It's on page 6. We'll definitely be telling you more.
On Daily Nation, Gulf oil deal ties Kenyans to expensive fuel. We had
Matters politics
really.
there, yes, and things are not so good, but they say tuko sawa. Fuliza gang, now this is the most interesting.
Yes.
Fuliza gang,
Absolutely.
in 449 million shilling heist. They're going to lose property, but hey, they got me here. 449 million shillings. Yes.
And
you can get that much from Fuliza, you know now.
I got to know today actually, because mine is still at 7,500. So I'm wondering how many people would need to borrow to be able to reach that.
440. This is a record. That's the front page of the Standard, and we'll be back to take a look at that.
Shiksha, zatusaidia hapa.
Pesa za Raila zaenda wapi?
Yes, zilienda happy, and we saw these headlines yesterday. They're still looking for the money for AUC campaign. What happened to that?
One of the cartoons is alluding to that. In Business Matters, International Monetary Fund, World Bank split on Kenya power monopoly. This is not a really new conversation. They had it last week there, somewhere in the bottom, talking about how World Bank is advising Kenya kweni tuna just one monopoly of electricity sharing.
Wanajua ni kwa nini.
Yes.
Now they're not reading from the same page. We cross over to Uganda. We start off with the Daily Monitor. Matters education on the front page, the dropouts, and they give very disturbing statistics here. They're asking a question, where are they? Analysis by the Ministry of Education in Uganda figures show that more than 1.7 million learners from both private and government-owned schools who joined Primary 1 in 2018 failed to make it to Senior 6 this year. So the question is, where are they? What happened to them? At what point did they drop out? So they start at 1.8 million in 2012, then they keep dropping. By the time you get to Senior 6, they're about 142,000. So wengi sana wali drop hapa.
That's like just 10%.
A number...
even less than 10%.
A huge number dropped out before 2018 after 6 years. That means they don't get to high school.
Wow.
So from primary school, 1.2 million dropped out. By the time you get to 2024, the equivalent of our Form 4 right now, they're only about 142,000 from 1.8 million people.
That is a huge gap.
So this is one of those instances where we don't get a very positive headline.
From Daily Monitor.
From Daily Monitor. But yes, these are worrying statistics. And I like the way they just break it down for you in numbers on the front page, and you can actually see the picture.
It's a very clean infographic, actually.
Plus, it's worrying because Uganda is really big on education matters. So, I mean, seeing this, you're wondering why. Plus, also, the education minister is also the First Lady.
Yes. Oh, yes. So, Janet Museveni is Education Minister.
Yes. So
huyo minister ulizwa maswali.
Ulizwa na nani?
Ulizwa na nani?
That is
the new vision.
The prostate cancer story, father-son cases rise. And that's majority of the newspaper, of course. Museveni roots for Kabyegeni. President Yoweri Museveni hands over the National Resistance Movement flag to Rose Kabyegeni, the NRM flag bearer in the Kisoro District Women MP by-election. That's during a campaign. So yeah, we are going to be bringing to you this. And remember, 70% of patients seek help when it's actually too late.
When it comes to prostate
So that's
cancer.
probably when they're on stage 4, stage 3 onwards. And that's when it is too late.
It means they found a connection between
Father and son.
Father and son.
So it's the genes, it's genetics.
There's one story that cuts across at least the two papers, and this is here. It has to do with the Anglican Church. Church abuse case sinks Archbishop of Canterbury, who resigned from his position. It's also there on the front page of the Daily, the New Vision. Archbishop of Canterbury resigns. We'll see where else it is. I think on the Kenyan papers as well.
Yes, on Standard.
It's only on the Standard.
Yeah, it's only, I've seen it on the Standard.
On the Nation, it's not there. On the Standard,
the
Anglican head quits after child abuse saga. It's a big story. Remember, the Anglican Church is one of the biggest churches in Kenya as well, and in the region too.
Yes.
So
on your vision as well, before you cross over to Tanzania, they rarely talk about politics there. So seeing a headline on politics is something interesting. Government rejects proposal to vote opposition leader.
It's on page 10.
Over to Uganda now, Stano.
In Tanzania.
Tanzania, sorry.
They say how Tanzania can protect the standard gauge railway from acts of sabotage. And there's a similar headline. Was it on Monday? They talk about how people are vandalizing the railways and the roads and just stealing.
For scrap metal.
Yes, for
Actually,
scrap metal
as well.
Plastic.
It was there last week.
Yes.
There's still excitement around the SGR in Tanzania. It came into effect this year.
Yes.
It's just been months old. They're already stealing the electric cables. Remember, there's an element of electricity to it. They're already stealing those, stealing some other metallic fixtures there and selling it. And it's a problem.
Yes.
A problem that has gotten to a point where it's on the front pages. Interestingly, in Kenya, the SGR is not vandalized as much. In fact, I've never heard of any cases of vandalism on the SGR.
Yeah, I think also the fact that how they fenced it.
Yeah, the kind of protection
really,
that's
Security is tight.
Yes, that infrastructure. They should think about, they should learn something. Watu wanasema Kenya should learn from Tanzania and Ethiopia.
But
they should come and learn a few things from Kenya, how to protect that kind of infrastructure.
Yeah.
Other quick highlights: 5 universities partner to mitigate climate change impact. Matter CCM ignore minor errors in vetting of poll candidates. Yes, the elections, the civic elections coming.
The 27th
of this month. Finding some small space pale juu.
Interesting.
Ni Kenya sahi
the whole page, the whole page. And of course, Oryx Energy faces 468 billion shilling hit after appeal court verdict. And of course, this is since the 2016 legal battle where they were required to pay almost 500 billion in the initial claims. So what will happen? That's on page 3.
All right. Still in Tanzania,
ngoma bado nzito, sema wakati malalamiko ya wagombea na upinzani yakishika kasi, Chama cha Mapinduzi imeomba TAMISEMI kupuuza kasoro ndogo ndogo za ujazaji fomu. Mchengerwa afunguka wagombea na wanapokosea. Lissu wasema uchaguzi umeshaisha. Lissu ni the opposition.
Okay, what is this guy?
Wow. Those are words sometimes.
Yeah, the Swahili they use, you know, you're supposed to be communicating
complicated.
Anyway.
But, I mean, for the target audience,
Very
they
sunny-foo. Well,
even
I am definitely not the target audience because half of these words I'll need a kamusi right next to me.
But
again, they've given a lot of prominence to that politics.
Yeah.
Yes,
This is
the civic
quarters
polls.
of the page.
Yeah.
Yes. So this is a Kenyan way of doing it.
Yes.
Politics in a cooler space.
Yeah, so for them, the whole focus on the civic polls, it's the same conversation that was there yesterday. As they count down to the civic polls, on ukisema malalamiko ya wagombea na upinzani yakishika kasi. Malalamiko hayo ni some of these errors that were seen in the registration of the voters.
It's like the MCA elections. You can imagine there are 1,465 wards in Kenya, so it's across the entire Tanzania. So this is actually the biggest election ile president na MPs.
Yeah, next year huko.
Mbinu za kudhibiti hujuma SGR pia inapata kipaumbele kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa Mwananchi pale chini, na wanasema kiasi cha fedha kilichotumika kutekeleza mradi wa SGR ni takriban shilingi trilioni 10.69.
But that's Tanzanian shillings, yes.
Tanzanian money.
Zishtuke sana.
So those are the dailies across the region. We'll be back to take a look at the Kenyan ones in depth. Let's now take a look at the weather situation, and we start off in Samburu today. So in Samburu, this morning it's 17 degrees Celsius. Promises to be quite a sunny day for the better part of the morning and into the afternoon, but chances of thunderstorms and showers later on, mid-afternoon from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. So mvua kidogo baadaye, but a bit of cloud cover, but sunny intervals for the better part of the morning. That's as far as Samburu is concerned. To the western part of the country, Busia.
All right, Busia seems to be a pleasant day, cloudy day all through with highs of 27 degrees. Of course, that's in the afternoon from 1 all the way until 4 p.m. And yeah, seems to be a pleasant day all round with very low chances of rain.
So this is comfortable weather for people in Busia.
Beautiful rain, beautiful weather.
You can carry out your shugulis properly. Let's take a look at Nakuru, one of the cities.
Yes.
Cold day indeed, Stan.
Fred's hometown.
Yes, this is my hometown.
And going to be seeing some rainfall into the evening around 3 p.m. there with thunderstorms. But before that, it's going to be clear blue skies, highs of about 24 degrees Celsius. Not bad.
Fair weather.
Yes. Then after that, it's going to be a cloudy evening.
So ikifika masaa ya 3-4 p.m. kama uko Nakuru, enda uangalie bahali mavuli iko. Coast.
Let's see what's happening at the coast. Seems to be quite a nice day as well over there with 31 degrees, actually 32.
32.
And then we are expecting some showers, 40% chance of it raining at 4 p.m., 50% chance at 6 p.m. So I think throughout the evening, it is going to be raining in Voi. But other than that, seems to be a sunny day and beautiful holiday weather in Voi.
All right. And finally, come back to the city. They call it the city in the sun. I don't know how much sun.
Getting to work was an issue today with the rain.
It's already raining in the morning.
It's been raining since 5 a.m.
But according to the weather forecast,
it's not raining.
There's not much rain
until the evening.
Until evening.
Yes.
So it looks like many parts of the country are going to experience some rainfall towards the latter part of the day.
Yes.
But sunny intervals throughout the day in Nairobi, highs of 24 degrees. Right now it's about 17 degrees Celsius, a bit of rain here and there in some sections of the city. Where we are, we're still in Nairobi, but bordering Kiambu. But probably that's why kunanyesha.
We experienced quite a bit of rain.
Yes, so that's the weather situation right now. And we'll be back to take a look at the traffic situation later on. Yes. Do you have the day's diary?
Right now, though, we'll take a look at the day's diary. We start off with the KCSE exams. At 8:30 a.m., they're going to be doing the Christian religious education, the Islam religious education, as well as the Hindu religious education, paper 2. And then at 2 p.m., going to be having history and government, paper 1. Fred, I know you, when you mulifanya GHC, You don't
Yes, I
relate?
actually did it.
And not
In
socials?
primary school, no,
Okay.
but not in high school.
All right.
Yes.
Wow.
In high school, tulikuwa nafanya vitu ngumu kama electricity, mechanical engineering and stuff like that.
Interesting.
Do you relate, Shiksha?
No, I do not. Mine was social studies.
Old folk. Yes. Something else also happening today in matters security. They're going to be having the launch of the regional program on peace building and for violent extension in East Africa. This is going to be done by Principal Secretary for Internal Security, that is Raymond Omolo. So we're going to be breaking down what this particular launch means for you. Something also happening today, Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka is going to be accepting the Peace Ambassador of the Year award. He's going to be getting this from the National Community-Based Organizations Council. So now, apart from this whole receiving awards, the fact that Kalonzo is going to be on a platform, and we expect that he's going to be flanked by other Azimio leaders as well. So a lot of politics might just be coming out of this as well.
It's actually the International Week of Peace and Science, the entire week.
Right.
So that's why he is getting that award.
All right.
Congratulations to him before he actually received it.
Something else also happening all the way in Baku. Azerbaijan COP29 continues. Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi is representing President William Ruto, but then we obviously expect President William Ruto to be making his way over there in the coming days. COP29 continues until, is it the first or second week of December?
Yes.
Yes.
Right.
So that is just a nutshell of what to expect in our news bulletins. Right now though, tuingie into a deep dive of the Kenyan papers.
All right, so there are two different headlines of the Star.
I was actually looking at the same. There's two different headlines.
The physical paper I have reads Shah Chief Executive Washira suspended, but newspapers do this.
Oh, yeah.
You can have different editions, probably even for different towns if you want.
Very
Some have the
interesting.
Western edition because some news that actually appeals to people in Kakamega does not appeal to people in Meru.
Yeah.
And,
Absolutely.
but you can see the picture used there is the same. Ruto urging city MPs to support regeneration efforts, and they're talking about the regeneration of the Nairobi River. So yesterday, the president hosted all MPs from Nairobi, from across all political parties, for this discussion. And I know what many people are talking about is the fact that some of former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua's allies, namely James Gakuya and Major Donk, were there too. So I'm sure in the coming days they'll be trying to say no, tulikuwa tumeenda tu because
Ilikuwa Nairobi River,
Yes.
but itakuwa story chini ya maji.
hiyo ni story chini ya maji.
Chini ya river.
Yes,
Chini ya, But the big headline on the front page of away from what Shah CEO suspended, I think that was a long time coming. That's not news. Ruto's plan to get trailer support for 2027 race. President back to drawing board after falling out with his deputy president, costing him Mount Kenya voting block. Hiyo ndio hesabu mimi sijaelewa. How do you just get rid of one of your strongest political bases mid-term and you're seeking re-election, you know? Anyway, so at least now he's trying to quote a different...
The whole Nyanza region.
Strategy.
Well, will it work? How much power does it give to Raila Odinga and his ODM party?
And then after
They say
February.
by then now we are very powerful.
Yeah.
Unajua, if we pull our hands off like this, you're down. So
Anafanya hesabu ya minus.
hesabu hiyo formula acha tuangalie. But,
But come February again, things again might change after
Yes.
the outcome of the AUC polls.
Yes.
well, interesting. So this is one of the major discussions we'll be having. The story on the polio jab, because it's also been quite controversial. Some parents are ignoring the skeptics and allowing their kids to get vaccines. That story is on page 2. There are parents who've actually said no.
Yeah. But you know, the Ministry of Health has actually come out to say that the 2 children who lost their lives was not because of the vaccine. So they have had a statement released and they've said that, you know what, There's nothing to do with the vaccine. So please, we're encouraging you to take that vaccine.
And I think it's up to the Ministry of Health to come out clearly, because when it comes to people's children, that's the reason why they even go to work.
Yeah.
That's the reason why they do everything they do. So you can just play around at you wengine kuna shida. Just come out clearly and make sure and assure all Kenyans that the polio jab and all other jabs issued by the government are safe for the children.
Yes.
So renowned judge recalls his run-ins with ex-AG Njonjo. That's Lee Muthoga. He's written a book. And
hapo chini, what we were talking about yesterday, by the way.
Yes. Watu wanavuruta bangi sana. Alarm over rising cases of foodstuffs.
Sasa ni kukula, hii ni kukula, si kuvuruta.
Ninja imefika hapo. Anyway.
Or mental, or our mental health again.
Yes. Yeah. It speaks a lot to what are Kenyans going through.
All right, now that's how digital lenders are spying on you. Predatory entities accused of illegally collecting contacts and personal data of borrowers and employing rogue agents who resort to threatening Kenyans, and that's the cover of People Daily, Invasion of Privacy. So that's a very interesting story, of course. We have seen, I think 2 weeks ago, this story was making headlines 2 weeks ago, and now it's back. But now there seems to be a different angle on page 6.
What's happening here is that, was it 2 years back, this digital lenders had been barred from using this data the way they're using it and calling people, calling your father, your friends and stuff like that. But it would appear they're back to it. So some people have gone to court, at least taking a few of those digital lenders for invading privacy of people who are not even connected with a deal. And the court has pronounced itself on the matter.
All right.
Something also interesting in matters of sports, the Football Kenya Federation elections back on track after court lifts stay orders. So what happened was on Saturday, the 9th of this month, the county polls were set to happen. And then the day before, the Kitui High Court said, no, this will not happen because the Football Kenya Association said we are the ones who are supposed to be doing this and not really FKF. So we're going to see, even in anticipation of next month's presidential elections for the Football Kenya Federation. Yes.
All right. The return of Isaac Hassan after 8 years in the cold. The former IEBC chairperson is back, this time as a nominee for the post of chairperson of the Independent Police Oversight Authority. Right. That's the People Daily. The Daily Nation start.
Gulf oil deal ties Kenyans to expensive fuel. And they say pain at the pump. Kenyan consumers face a months-long extension of the government-backed fuel import plan with Gulf oil majors, denying motorists, households and industrial users relief from falling petroleum prices globally in a new agreement that will help the country to evade paying hefty penalties. Now, when we are expecting, today's the 13th, so tomorrow, the 14th, the EPRA will be releasing new fuel prices for November 14th all the way to December 14th. So it's going to be interesting to see how for tomorrow, if we're going to be...
No relief.
Because for last month, there was quite the relief. For this month, for tomorrow, wait to see how EPRA will be, the new fuel prices will be.
Right.
Other conversations, former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua is back on the front pages. New political parties in Gachagua-Kalonzo collision. And this paper has learnt of a series of private meetings involving Gachagua, Musyoka and DAP-K leader Eugene Wamalwa as they begin plans to run against President William Ruto in the 2027 State House contest. And in depth, you'll read about how on the cards, it's either to change the Azimio look and include Gachagua in it, or maybe just have a new one that also includes Gachagua. That is maybe on the cards of this private meeting.
Yes. Another story here, the widow of former marathon champion among 3 charged with his murder. That's on page 3. So, you know, of course, this is a very shocking story because usually in the past few days, when it comes to domestic violence, we have been focusing on femicide.
Yes.
So this one seems like justice has been served, but obviously the wife of the retired long runner has been charged with murder alongside 3 other people. They've had a long-standing domestic feud. The neighbors have been constantly complaining about the fact that there's always noise arising from their household. And yeah, he was murdered, and she's a mother of 4 actually.
Very sad story.
And now she has been charged with his murder, although she has denied the allegations. But yeah, that is the verdict of the court.
Right.
Something also on the bottom there. It's okay. It's on the back page. It was something that was happening yesterday in one of the committees in Parliament. Lecturers' strike still on as salary talks collapse.
Again.
Yes, again is a keyword there. State fails to table proof that it has budgeted and allocated money demanded by the tutors. So MPs are set to meet Treasury and Education Ministry chiefs, that is tomorrow. Will this equate to much? Because other meetings haven't yielded much.
And on the side there, the University of Nairobi VC is ordering dons back to class. So, just linked to that same story.
Side by side.
But sema hakuna pesa.
Yeah.
Aha, now this is a standard today. Fuliza gang in 449 million shilling heist to lose property. So listen to this, pushing boundaries. Now this one, they really pushed it. At least 10 youth registered more than 123,000 mobile phone lines, took loans, and went on a car and motorcycle buying spree without the intention of repaying the money. Their properties are to be forfeited to the government. The story is on page 4, and it details how these people, about 10 of them have been arrested and arraigned, but it details how these people have registered all these SIM cards. And
that's a lot of work. Do you know 123,000 mobile phones?
But it looks like it was very lucrative. Yeah, 449 million shillings.
And I feel like this has been ongoing for quite some time. To be able to raise that kind of money is not something that you do in a few months. Years of work.
I'm also looking at it on how today being day 3 of this week, from Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday. Monday, the Standard focused on how Kenyans are forced to steal.
Yes.
Yesterday, it was about wash. Now today, you're seeing this, actually, how Kenyans are forced to steal, really speaks largely on...
And there's something I'm also seeing.
Through the economy.
This is an indication of a youth crisis.
Yes.
Look here. Abducted youth were extorted to secure their release. That's a highlight on the front page of the Standard.
Yes.
Up there. Then Fuliza gang is made up of at least 10 youth who registered these SIM cards and did all this.
And
then the bottom there.
Thousands may miss exams. These are youth of a varsity funding crisis. So there seems to be a youth crisis in Kenya. No one is addressing it. And this, ndio italeta shida. Iwachata ile story, ndio italeta shida because people are now resorting to other means to
some very creative means.
This,
very creative.
It is,
yes, they are very creative.
It's a demographic you cannot ignore. Yeah. Of course, we had mentioned earlier that Anglican head quits after child abuse saga.
Yes.
And there's a report here on women prone to joining cults.
On the back page, because I mean, we definitely, if Manchester United is focused somewhere, you obviously have
then
to
we
mention...
don't waste time on the back page.
Move on very quickly, very swiftly.
Okay, fine, you can mention.
Why Man United task is no laughing matter for Amorim.
Okay.
We have been smiling for the past number of matches, so it's a good...
Okay.
Yes, even as the international break continues. Anyway, now you can...
And I love the irony because look at the photo of him. He's smiling away right there.
Yes.
And then on the other hand...
He'll be starting his task now after the international break. Okay. For those who are wondering, who is Ruben Amorim? He is now the new Manchester United manager.
Interesting that you have a lot to say about this. We have to wait and see if at all it's going to pay off. Tuangazie gazeti la Taifa Leo sasa.
Speaking of paying off.
Shiksha.
I'll do it again. Pesa za Raila zaenda wapi?
Sema wanachama wa sekretariati wakosa hela, wanasiasa wakigharamia safari zao kila Odinga anaposafiri nje. Yameibuka kuhusu ziliko pesa na kugharamia kampeni ya kinara wa upinzani Raila Odinga, huku mzozo wa ndani kwa ndani ukitishia kusambaratisha azma yake ya wenyekiti wa tume ya Umoja wa Afrika. This is one of the biggest things that could actually determine Kenya's politics going forward. Na wanaleta mchezo hapa kwa pesa. Hii kitu inaweza kuja lipuka. Wasilete mchezo. Hiyo ndio habari kuu pale kwenye ukurasa wa mbele, ilikuwa magazetini jana. Pale juu, hofu wanawake 4,000 wakipitia mateso kila mwezi. Hii ni idadi ya wanawake wanaouawa kikatili inaendelea kutisha, huku vituo vya uokoaji vikionyesha kuwa visa 4,000 vya dhulma hutokea kila mwezi. 4,000 cases of gender-based violence against women.
Yes, and actually this is coming on the backdrop of the 16 days of against GBV. It's on the final week of this month.
Right.
So not very good news there.
And in fact, just this morning there was news that another case was reported in Kiambu. Wow. So she was out going for a run, and at around 10 p.m. she was attacked, and that's the last that was seen of her, and now she has been reported dead.
Very unfortunate.
Yeah.
Visa Alfune. Vidokezo zaidi kwenye ukurasa wa mbele. Speaker jiuzulu kuepuka madiwani. That's a speaker of Homa Bay. Kwingineko wabunge mashakani mlimani na Trump kutaja Rubio balozi wake mkuu. Alright, masuala ya biashara tukimalizia, nafikiri our time is up actually.
The IMF World Bank split on Kenya power monopoly. IMF sides with government on plans to open the market. Other conversations on the ticker. State spends less than a third of 54 billion cash shillings housing levy funds.
Bill locks blacklisted firms out of tenders. And lastly, M-Pesa deposits dip despite growth in customer numbers.
Are you getting the feeling here? Is that now there's a bit of reluctance to use mobile money, but hey, I'm not the one saying it. There's a very interesting headline here on the front page of the Business Daily. State House hiring more advisors.
As bill crosses $1 billion shillings.
So $1 billion shillings for advisors only.
You remember what I was telling you on, so Uganda, context of this one, Uganda yesterday was saying on Daily Monitor how State House has quite a number of departments there. And I was saying, if you do not know Daily Monitor is a Ugandan paper, you might just think that this is also Kenya. So this is also similar to that.
So you have an entire cabinet, but then you spend $1 billion shillings on special advisors.
Yes.
Yeah, and you have PSs and everything else. Interesting times. Those are the dailies in Kenya. Tuende tuangazie Karakacha sasa. The cartoon on, this is a Daily Nation.
Yes.
Has an empty wallet.
That says AUC campaign budget.
So basically what they're saying, the plane is ready to take off for the campaigns, but
there's no money.
Fedha za kampeni hamna.
10 bob imeanguka hapo.
10 bob imeanguka pale na kifungo ya koti.
Yes, and a little button.
This, waache mchezo na hiki tu. Mimi naweza waambia tu hivyo, ni cartoonist amesema, lakini ni ukweli. Hiyo. On the People Daily, they have this heavy
mkokoteni
man on mkokoteni na ile donkey ya development imeshindwa na kazi. So
it's too heavy.
It's tilting more towards 2027 politics. So here it's an indication that we're more focused on 2027
priorities are towards politics rather than development.
And particularly in counties as well.
Yes.
Because when you look at the development that is done in counties, they focus more on paying off debts and all that rather than development.
Yes, in preparation for 2027. Even if you look at the dailies, they talk more about preparations and alliances ahead of 2027.
Yeah.
So that's the People Daily. And finally on the Standard.
kuna the Star, but before we fike kwa the Star.
Acha tumalize Standard kwanza. And it's the same discussion that this politician already has Gen Wazai kwa box. Lakini sasa anaangalia going towards 2027. Kuna kamrembo hapa nyuma kanaitwa Gen Z. Na anakaa huyu anaweza nisaidia.
And that's where the attention has been shifted.
Yes, so
from Gen Wazai to Gen Z.
As we move closer to 2027, Gen Wazai wanasaulika. Gen Z ndio the new kids on
focus.
And finally on finally on the Star.
Yes. Strengthen the economy, petrol prices have been lowered. And those are the words of
the gentleman there.
Yes.
You and I know who that is.
So have they really been lowered, fuel prices?
That's a good question.
Because I look at the dailies and they're talking about on the Nation.
Gulf oil deal.
This Gulf oil deal that ties Kenyans to expensive fuel. Anyway, na kuna silhouette wamekuwa wakitumia sana kwa X, wanaambiwa wachane na hiyo silhouette sana. Imetumika hapa sasa hii kwa the Star.
It's right there in the back.
Right now the silhouette is even on some nganyas.
They're already using the silhouette.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. So these are just some of the conversations we'll be having with my panelists after the break. To stand by for that. And just before we take a break, we could take a look at the traffic situation because it's 35 past the hour in Nairobi. Usual trouble spots inakuanga tu pale utalii, si utalii,
Pangani interchange.
Yes, just after the utalii drift. Hapo imeshikana sio mbaya sana for this time of day. It's usually longer, but it appear pale ni kawaida, nothing much. Further up, nothing much to report on Thika Road. Ukiangalia barabara nyingine zile zinapanga shida, Jogoo Road, Makadara pale Mbotela, it's building up slowly but nothing to worry about. Once you get to town, Haile Selassie Avenue is looking good, even Landiswood.
Surprisingly.
Yes, it's usually deep red around this area.
At this time.
So not much traffic in the city.
And travel also.
Yes, so maybe not many people because of the rain.
Yes.
But
I was just gonna say, guys, exactly.
Mombasa Road looking good, so is Southern Bypass, Langata Road, Ngong Road too. And Wayaki Way into town is looking smooth
as well.
Also. So this is the only problem where people are actually spending some time. So hawkers wote wako hapa, Pangani interchange. So that's the traffic situation this morning. And I'm sure it will change. If we get time, we might get back to that.
Oh, yes.
Right. So, yes, State of the Nation coming up after the break. Do stand by for that. And later on, matters relationships.
Long-distance relationships. So, ukiona traffic iko hivo, just know how you're going to be reaching your mpo. Jen Gitao, psychologist, as well as Gabriel Nyamu, he is a purpose coach.
All right, and at 9 a.m. we'll be back with Tasty Wednesday. That is Chef Mbugua right there. We'll be cooking up something very interesting today, so make sure you tune in for that. Get your notepads ready.
I can also introduce my panelists, yes. Anne Wamuratha, a woman representative Kiambu County, Steve Monania, Deputy Governor Murang'a, and John Kanyuithia Mutunga, MP Tigania West, our panelists this morning on State of the Nation, right after this break.
Right.
Of success.
I think a report paid almost $100 for a booklet of help.
Vile unavyojua watoto wengi sana hawana namna. Mimi ningependelea watoto wasome.
I'm here to stress on education. At the same time, let us actually do any kind of sport that we are doing. Sport speaks the best language to everybody.
Tunataka tutafute talents. Zile raw talents kutoka kule nyumbani mashinani mahali tuko leo.
Hizi mbio za Chepsaita, like all other sports, zinaleta watu pamoja.
We want to use this event to uplift the lives of the community.
Anafurahia hii mchezo sana. Hata sikaange naambianga watu tuende Chepsaita.
Wanafunzi wakimbie ili wakuze talanta ya mbio ama kuhimiza tena elimu.
This is the place to be. Hapa ndipo mahali wanastahili kuwa tarehe 7. Wale watoto walikimbia last year, wamekimbia mpaka wamefuka mipaka zetu za Kenya.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph,
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism, how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy. I used to wash clients' hair on the sink.
It's about making them happen. From big wins.
In primary school, when we would be asked what people want to be, I was categorical that I want to be a nurse.
To hard lessons.
The consoles change, the gaming equipment keep changing.
We cover it all. Tune in to The Grind, where every episode is packed with insights.
The person who is serving customers, always be a customer-centric.
Strategies.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
And stories to fuel your ambition. Don't just dream it, grind it. Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwe watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
Nation, but they have a very political one on new political parties in Gachagua-Kalonzo coalition, also occupying quite some space on the front page. On the Star, this edition that I have, the physical paper, Shah Chief Executive Wachira suspended, matters to do with health. But there's another edition that whose headline is a bit different. Ruto's plan to get trailer support for 2027 race. So a lot of politics playing out on the front pages. But we start off with the Standard, a very shocking headline. Fuliza gang in 449 million shilling heist to lose property. They're talking about at least 10 youth registered more than 123,000 mobile phone lines, took loans and went on a car and motorcycle buying spree without the intention of repaying the money. On this same front page of the Standard, they talk up there about abducted youth who were extorted to secure their release. And down there they talk about thousands may miss exams over varsity funding crisis. So 3 different highlights talking about Kenyan youth on the front page of the Standard, and in not positive light, and probably we start from there. The youth crisis in Kenya today. Allow me to introduce my panelists this morning. On my immediate right, Stephen Munania, Deputy Governor, Murang'a County. Karibu sana, Deputy Governor.
Thank you.
Next to Bwana Munania, we have John Kanyuithia Mutunga, MP Tigania West. It's good to have you back in studio after a long time. Yes. Ann Wamuratha, Woman Representative, Kiambu County, also joins us this morning. It's a pleasure to have you in studio.
Thank you.
So this past week we've been seeing very interesting headlines about the economic situation in the country, Kenyans turning to crime just to make a living. Now we're looking at the front page of the Standard, and there are 3 headlines stuck talking about the crisis within the youth population. They're turning to crime, and they're doing it so well, 449 million shillings through mobile lending. The same youth who are facing abductions and extortion from security agencies and at the same time, the same who have been affected by the university funding model and cannot access university education. Now, this discussion, Bwana Munani, and you are one of the very youthful elected leaders.
Yes.
This is a demographic that cannot be ignored, especially this year. We've seen what happened with the Gen Z protests, yet this is the same that appears to be ignored, and you can see the reactions or the results that are now showing. Do you think that probably as a nation we have a proper grasp of how big the youth crisis is in this country?
Yeah, thank you. Good morning to every one of our viewers. I think the issue of the youth and unemployment is one of the largest problems, and it's, from where I see it, it's a crisis. And how we choose to handle it as leaders is going to determine whether we are going to have a peaceful nation or not, a constructive nation or not. Because our development agenda needs to target and being deliberate in creating job opportunities. It's not a matter of just speaking, but rather being deliberate in creating those opportunities. And so as leaders, we have the obligations to do exactly that. When I look at the dailies and I see these 10 young people who have who registered 123,000 phone lines to get 449 million Kenya shillings, I see desperation. Because from where they sit, they have they are looking at alternatives. What are they supposed to be doing? And they are looking at the easy way, because when they look at the nation, if you the yesterday's dailies walikuwa nasema about the wash about the wash that is within this country. So this is not contextually new, but it's rather the environment that we have our young people. And this is where we need innovative ideas that not only create employment, but also enable the young people to be able to create more opportunities for themselves, so that they can also create more employment.
Yes.
Yes.
And if you look at the cartoon on the Standard today, it paints a picture of politicians, of which you are, yes. all three of you. So the Standard cartoon has depicts a politician who's walking with an elderly lady or a mature lady who's called Jen Wazai. But there's a young lady following at the back, and she's branded Gen Z. And it would appear this politician is now thinking Jen Wazai is no longer interesting. Gen Z is more interesting back there. But Bwana Mutunga, it would appear that from the political perspective, we only look at the Kenyan youth in terms of what they can offer you as a politician, in terms of votes. So yes, there's a lot of politicians looking to woo the Gen Z ahead of 2027, yet the problems that bedevil that demographic are not being addressed. Do you agree that politicians have done very little for the Kenyan youth?
I don't agree, with reasons. There are serious plans in this country, especially under the Kenya Kwanza government, to create more jobs and better jobs for the youth. If you look at the partnership between the county governments and the national government, which is not really moving very fast, on creation of aggregation centers and agro-food parks. This aggregation has the intention to bring together the products from various value chains in agriculture and even others. And then the agri-food parks are supposed to create industries to process, where we should have started in 1963. We should have started by demarcating our potential areas in terms of the products, and then creating industries next, so that we may be able to use the raw materials from these areas to process, so that we will industrialize just like the other countries did. This is the time this thinking is on, and is supposed to be moving on. The speed at which it's moving, I may not be able to say. That's one of the thoughts of the current government. Now, look at the affordable housing, which has been fought left, right, and center. It has created possibilities for more than 130,000 jobs for youth. Not only youth, business community, invigorating or rather vibrating the business, because we have people who are involved in the manufacture of doors, manufacture of windows, people selling cement and others. That's how to inject, some vigor in an economy. And this economy basically employs the youth. Look at the ICT-related jobs. Everywhere in this country, every ICT center, every TVET is targeted or has already received a set of computers, and there is a mechanism to link these TVET centers with jobs across, and youths are doing normal jobs. But then, let me say something. The tendency in this country is for people to try and get rich very fast, and that is what has messed up. And let me say, it's generally an accepted principle in this country that people would rather get richer faster than folling the normal process.
You don't agree?
I want to let me cite two examples. The first example is the Kabura case. You remember? She slept. A papa woke up a millionaire, and she had done procurement. She was in procurement business. How many youths turned to procurement as a course in this country? ICT became a booming industry. It was creating many possibilities in this country. How many youths are locked up in ICT as courses? Youths have abandoned very progressive careers like agriculture, which is going to be progressive for many years in this country. Because we are an agricultural country, almost 30% of the economy, of the GDP is supported from agriculture, and more than 50% are employed from agriculture, 60% of our foreign earning. So that's where the opportunity is, but people are moving where they can make quick buck. Mm-hmm. So the idea is we need to get back to our youth and try to sit down and reason together. Okay. People don't grow overnight. People take time to grow.
Wamuratha, listening to Bwana Mutunga, he used words like intention, possibility, trying to describe what the Kenya Kwanza plans are with regard to the youth. But this is 2.5 years later. Mm-hmm. And the results of what we can see right now is that probably the intention and the possibility he talks about is yet to materialize. And he rightfully said that he cannot say how long and or the speed at which these intentions are moving. The issue is, how much more time will the Kenyan youth give the Kenya Kwanza administration for this, the intentions and the possibility to actually mature into something that can benefit them? They're already expressing their own frustration, and things are not looking good.
Thank you. And I must first confess that we as a nation have had a problem that has taken us so long to solve. Number one, Africans, or let me talk of Kenya in particular, we're not good at planning ahead of what is going to happen. Personally, I'm in the Education Committee. Maybe that's where I would start, in the National Assembly. And when you look at the crisis that we are going through now, it is not something that has started now. It's something, the education system started having problems many years back. I happen to be a victim of where our problem started, the first 844 lot. I was in the first 844 lot in 1985. And when we did our class 8 in 1985, we went to Form 1 in 86, there was no Form 2. But then we went to Form 2, there was no Form 3. We went to Form 3, there was no Form 4. We went to Form 4, there was no Form 5. And then in 1989, we had a double intake of Form 4 and the Form 6 then. The university had a double intake. There was no planning. There was no extension of the universities. There was nothing. And from there, we started having all these problems that we're having in our universities now after the double intake. Coming now to your question, it's so sad that President William is the only president now who has kept on speaking that these young people, if not given an opportunity now to achieve what they want in life, this is a time bomb that is awaiting us. He's actually is the only one who has had an agenda of the young people. Unfortunately, he is the only one that is being fought by the same young people, not out of their will, but out of people who have believed that Kenya is a place where you do politics 24/7. And every time you want to talk about what is going to happen in 2027. When you look at our young people today, and you listen to the agenda of Kenya Kwanza, right now, if I would say an example of where I stand in Kiambu County, there was an institution that was put up by the first woman rep in Kiamba, in a place called Wangunyu, a very beautiful institution. And that's where we want to put a rehab. It initially used to be a rehab center, but now we want to make it an ICT hub. And we are looking at making it even a resource center where, like now, I personally have a deal with Kenya Commercial Bank, which is doing with other women reps of a shilling for a shilling. You get the little money that the woman rep has, like I give 5 million, they give 5 million. Then these young people who want to do trade go to ICT. They are trained and then they are given the tools to start their trade. But when you look at where we are as a country, what are we doing to our young people, as you said from the beginning? There are those who feel they want to break politics with the young people of this nation. But thank God, the Gen Zs now have understood who they are, and they have come to believe that this is their country and it has to go the way they want it to move. Maybe what I would say is that, like now I've not been able to start up that project because there were a lot of delay because of all these politics. Otherwise, this center would have started running sometimes in June. But even up to now, we still have not yet started. We're still planning, but we are not yet started. Yet, when you go to Kiambaa, there is no government project, even at TVET. There is no TVET in Kiambaa. Why? Because the whole of Kiambaa constituency has no single national government land. The only land Kiambaa constituency has is in Ruaka, which is a 50 by 100. The rest was stolen many, many years ago. And you look at it and you say, this was the future of the young people that was stolen. And here we are now. We are asking ourselves, what do we do now that it happened? And we have to move forward. So maybe what I would say is that if only, as a nation, we would reduce on politics and realize that we have a nation to take care of. Just like my brother here has said, when we talk of, when the president talks of affordable housing, he was even saying, he has actually been saying, it's not only about building houses, but creating that opportunity of somebody doing something for now before we get to where we are going. It's not that it's going to be the end, but looking at it and where we are going. These people, let them, because the young people, the only time you can contain them is when they are busy. Mm-hmm. The other thing, and this is my last one, is about how we are bringing up our children. The generation that I grew up in, me and my brother here, is a generation where we as the young people did the chores in our homes. The chores were done by us in the homes. When you walikuwa na majani chai, walijuna majani chai kwao, kahawa walichuna majani chai kwao. And everybody became busy. Today, that one is looked at as slavery to your children. The young people who have tea in their land, who have coffee in their land, whose parents have land even to till. You will not find our people there in that land. He's talked about agriculture, which has made great impact in other countries. But when you listen to our people, when we say that agriculture is the backbone of this nation, but when you talk to our people back in the village, everybody is looking to the white collar job. Because there was a saying we grew up listening to in the radio. So many vijana muongeze pia bidii, mwisho wa kusoma utapata kazi nzuri sana. So everybody is there to kazi nzuri sana. So when you tell him kuvuna majani chai is kazi, it doesn't add up to them.
Right. We'll continue. It's time for us to take a break. We'll come back and continue this conversation because it is a worrying trend, the youth crisis that is building up, and politicians appear to have a solution, but the question is the solution urgent enough? You're watching Morning Cafe.
Download the
vile unavyojua watoto wengi sana hawana namna. Mimi ningependelea watoto wasome.
I'm here to stress on education. At the same time, let us actually do any kind of sport that we are doing. Sport speaks the best language to everybody.
Tunataka tutafute talents. Zile raw talents kutoka kule nyumbani mashinani mahali tuko leo.
Hizi mbio za Chepsaita, like all other sports, zinaleta watu pamoja.
We want to use this event to uplift the lives of the community.
Anafurahia hii mchezo sana. Hata sikaange naambianga watu tuende Jepsaita.
Wanafunzi wakimbie ili wakuze talanta ya mbio ama kuhimiza tena elimu.
This is the place to be. Hapa ndipo mahali wanastahili kuwa tarehe 7. Wale watoto walikimbia last year, wamekimbia mpaka wamefuka mipaka zetu za Kenya.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends. What position?
Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Cafe on TV 47 with me, Fred Indemuli. This is a State of the Nation where we continue looking at the headlines. And we are focusing on the Standard this morning because there are 3 headlines on the front page, 3 highlights, talking about the youth and the situation they face currently. 1, abductions. Abducted youth were extorted to secure their release. That is something they're facing in terms of their own security and safety. Thousands may miss exams over university funding crisis, and this issue about university funding and how it stands to disenfranchise a whole generation is also an issue of concern. And then what could be a direct result of this, that at least 10 youth registered more than 123,000 mobile phones with the specific intention of stealing money, and they did. 449 million shillings.
Yes.
I'm still here with Deputy Governor Stephen Monania of Murang'a, Anwa Muratha, Woman Rep Kiambu, and Kanyuithia Mutunga, MP Tigania West.
Yes.
When a Deputy Governor, you listen to the politicians, the other politicians, because you're still a politician as well. Talking
of
about
the other generation.
Yes. And there seems to be a generational issue here.
Yes.
They say that probably the youth of today are simply focused too much on the white-collar jobs. They're not as enterprising as their predecessors. Do you agree with that assessment, that that is why this is happening?
Allow me to disagree on some level, because I don't think that young people do not want to work. I want to give an example.
I want to correct that. I never said they don't want to work.
I want to give an example.
I didn't say that. Let me do a correction. I didn't say they don't want to work.
I want to give an example. My introduction to government was through an internship program. And that internship program was the product of the former administration for the Jubilee Party. And when I got into government, we were thousands of young people who are seeking for internship, 1-year contract internship positions. And when we got in, yes, they were prepared to give young people these opportunities. But the transition from that and how they want to envision the young people for the next, to come from this generation to the next, so that they get into transition either into government or else, it was non-existent. And we find that those were university degree holders. That program has run up until now with no transition model. A person who, and I'm going to give an example, people we were working with within the same position of internship. Jobs were advertised in the public service for the job that they were doing. They cannot be selected for those positions.
Why not?
For wherever they got other people from, only 10%. You advertise 10,000 let's say 1,000 positions in, and I'm going to give a very specific example, assistant county commissioners. We were 87 assistant county commissioners who were interns during that time. Only 5 got 400, from the 450 positions, got those positions. That tells you something. That there is no plan to transition, or even after we begin a program. And when I got into government, I was faced with the same problem. I am a young person who have got in a position of leadership. What are we supposed to do with the young people within Murang'a County? Both those who have degrees and those who doesn't have degrees, they are unemployed, and they are looking for those opportunities. We had to rethink and innovate around ideas that not only create employment, but transition them into the marketplace where they not only employ themselves, but they can create employment. That's how we came up with the Murang'a Youth Service Program in Murang'a. Right now, it has 4,000 people, 4,000 young people each and every 3 months, where not only do we train them and give them job opportunities, and we pay them, just like the national government does. Okay. But not only that, we also take them through our TVETs. We pay for their training. The second training, regardless whether they have a degree certificate or not, we give them skills that they can be able to work through their hands. And immediately after that, we work together with other financial institutions and provide them with seed capital so that they can be able to get into meaningful employment, whether for themselves or as a group, or even for those who want to create more opportunity for others. Because we realize if we have no plan to transition the young people and we are just creating short-term employment opportunities. I can work here for 2 months. If there is no transition for me for 2 months, then that young people have no land, they have no anywhere to get any capital because they are very high risk in capital. Mm-hmm. This is why you are seeing young people having to go to these extreme lengths to get some cash.
Wanamutunga, and without even talking about Kenya Kwanza or any other administration, as politicians, the onus is on you to actually provide solutions to this country. Are you confident that the solutions you've provided so far are watertight enough to sort out the youth crisis? You talk about housing, you talk about ICT hubs and TVETs. Are you confident enough that those that you've talked about are watertight to avert the crisis that we're now talking about?
Edemoli, at least I'm talking about something. That's the bottom line.
But you agree?
But let's go back. No, let's go back in history. First of all, how has Kenya lived over time? Kenya has practiced what is called politics against development over a very long time. Talk about anybody, talk about the church, its own dwelling in politics. Media promotes politics, nothing else. Talk about politicians get elected today, the following day they are trying to organize how they'll be elected again. So instead of focusing on development, and the politics becomes politics for development, in Kenya, we drink politics, eat politics, sleep politics. That's the problem. Mm-hmm. That's where we need to start from. We need to retire that baggage of politics as a country, and then focus on how do we structure development to help people.
So you do agree that politicians, the political class...
It's not politicians, it's everybody in Kenya who promotes politics, including the media. In fact, the media is worse, the worst. So let me say this. Countries that have developed have looked at politics. You know, polity defines development. That's why you go and rationalize how to structure out development and apportion across the landscape. That's why you rationalize what money to go where, what industry to promote, what kind of innovation to outscale. That's the essence of politics. Mm-hmm. But in Kenya, we do the opposite. We keep on fighting over politics and the organizing, it doesn't make sense. Now, ideally, we should be thinking about solutions that will help Kenyans for the next 10 years, 20 years, 50 years. If I may go back to soon after independence, this country had everything zoned out very well. Looking at the factors of production, and there's no way you can avoid land. Our land was being worked out as large units. So what did we do? I don't know whether it was upon advice or whether it was an inspiration from some source. We decided to settle people everywhere. Instead of looking at land as a production unit and working on that land and settling people along the amenity lines. Today, we are scattered across the countryside. Everybody needs a road, tarmac road for that matter. They need electricity, they need water, they need sewerage, they need everything. But then you are all over. Which country has ever developed with such kind of scatter? Mm-hmm. Then we have occupied the most potential land that could have been used to increase production and productivity of raw materials for industrialization. Countries have come up like Vietnam, which has been fighting for very many years. They have come up recently and they have reorganized their systems. They zone out an area, decide this is the value chain that's going to be promoted here, create storage facility aggregation for whatever they are producing, create a transformation unit, next, employ their youth there. Then the workers go to the farm to work as the workers, supervisors, or managers, because depending on their backgrounds. That is organizing and organizing an economy. But do you give politicians a chance to do that? or you'll be fighting this, you'll be fighting the other one. Every day you are looking at who is saying what about who. Now, coming to the youth. The youth problem that we have right now did not start yesterday. The youth problem that we have right now started when we abandoned planning for complete absorption of our people by expanding the possibilities. We did not do commensurate structuring and focusing on how to expand possibilities for Kenyans. We waited until it was too late. And that is why we are seeing it as a time bomb now.
Is it time now we have a national conversation about the youth? Because I tend to feel that every time we start these conversations, it quickly degenerates to the political alliances and who's not with who is working with who at what point. The problem is across the country. It's not a regional issue. It's not even a political one, for that matter.
It's an economic issue.
It's an economic issue. We need to now have a conversation around this debate. And this is now where we are saying, all of us now have to focus and know where we are going as a country. Mheshimiwa Monani has just said what they are doing in Murang'a with the Murang'a Youth Service and what, in their small way, how they are trying to save the lives of the youth, the young people in Murang'a County. If you would have governors explaining what they are doing with all this kind of money and pushing them, because that is another place where we have a big problem. If we would have a conversation with the governors, why did we have to do devolution? Why did we do devolution? How much have we achieved in devolution? But you see now, the only thing that we would want, in the Muli event, what you would want to sell here today is not how we can help the youth. Tomorrow and the day after tomorrow, if you open up this conversation that we are having a youth conversation on this national TV, very few people will want to watch your programs. Kenyans will want to hear who is fighting who is saying what about who. That is what is news in Kenya. And I think it's a high time as a country we started changing our ways of doing things, because these Gen Zs are not only, like at the time they came for us in Parliament, the Gen Zs, you remember the churches said, it is good, now let us, the politicians now tell us what they are doing for this country. What did the Gen Z tell the churches? Jamazeni hata nyinyi tunawakujia, mtuambie what you do with the money we bring there every Sunday. You know, these people are calling us, this young generation are calling us to our senses. They are telling us, can we have, and they are giving us an opportunity, can we have a national conversation? It is true, there has been a mess since 1963, but here we are. Can we sit and start having a national conversation? It's unfortunate that all what President William Ruto's agenda is being fought left and right. Right now, let us look at the new funding model of the university. I told you I'm in the education committee. We have a new funding model. What used to happen with HELB? With HELB, everybody in the university qualified for the HELB. Even my son, my daughter, qualified for the same. We are having a national conversation and asking ourselves, is this right? Is this the way to do things? Can we have a way of knowing we only give money to those who need to be supported? Those who are able to do it, can they be able to also support them? So that we get scholarship for those who are not even to do it. What has happened to Kenyans? They've gone to court to fight it. And today we talk about we are changing the lives of our people. We are moving from NHIF to another program. In as much as it has not ticked, we are still trying to work on it. But what happens, it's being fought everywhere. Right now, in the parliament, like me, I would tell, sisi tunakatwa 27,000, so that we are able to cater for the Wanjiko who is paying the 300, Mama Mboga who is paying the 300, so that we are able, all of us here, if we talk, even you, if you go through your phone now, you'll have a card. You have a card, an invitation card to help on a sick person who needs to pay for medication, cancer, diabetes, kidneys, and everything. What we need to do now, you as a media house, is even wanting to know, what is this? How is it going to help us? What is this shift? What is all these stories about these things? And we really try to see what it is. But now all of us are talking from a point of ignorance, and we don't even want to listen. Wanjiko is so annoyed, he's even saying, "Atutaki kusikia hizo vitu zote, they are just not right for us." When are we going to have a conversation to resolve where are we going?
You know, the conversation that Mheshimiwa Muratha is raising is a very important one. And I think there is a point where the government has failed in two instances, in terms of how we communicate government agenda to wananchi.
True.
And how we expect, because she has raised an issue on Shifensha, and part of the politics that you are seeing is the absence of information.
True.
And the absence of information on both sides. whether it's from the government side or even to the normal mwananchi side. And I'm going to give an example. You have said, and I do agree on all merits, that we need to subsidize healthcare for every mwananchi across the country. Because the one who have needs to support the one who doesn't have. So that the normal mwananchi can be able to get the enough care. But the process that, for me, that I would want to raise here is how do we get that care to mwananchi? SHIF has created a platform, the primary care network. They have created the SHIF, the emergency care, and also the chronic illnesses funds that have been created, all serving different purposes to ensure that care is given. However, the means testing that has been introduced by SHA, and I have to say from a practical point of view, because since yesterday, we have in Murang'a County, we are doing a 16-day campaign to transition every person who we are given Kangata care under NHIF into SHA, and we do mean testing to them so that we pay for those indigents. These are people who cannot afford, because initially they couldn't pay the 500 shillings. It's a mother who couldn't afford anything. So when we took these indigents and we started paying for them, they had insurance to go to hospital. Right now, we did a small survey in every sub-county, and the mean testing is not 300 shillings. For that mama who cannot afford, the mean testing is between, it's getting them from 600 shillings to 2,000 shillings. That's the average. It's above expensive from the 500 shillings. And these are the questions that we are asking. How did we get to this point where what was intended to be for the mwananchi, what was intended for the mama mboga, they cannot afford for that? Because if it's not 300, how can they afford the 600 shillings? True. How can they afford the 2,000 shillings? So this mean testing that is being introduced, from where I sit, is a foreign entity to the Kenyans, because one of the questions that is being asked is, do you live in a stone house? The mamas who are living in Geshagi, those houses were not constructed for them. They did not do it for themselves. They were constructed by well-wishers, their children, or even anywhere else. Do you have running water? Do you have electricity? Those are all things that have been created through, but they have no means of earning. Yet, their means have been pushed now from 300 all the way to 600 to 2,000 shillings. And this is the question that we are asking, and I'm going to ask the members of parliament. Yes. Since they are the owners of regulations and the law, how can they work with this so that it's a matter of seeing how it can be able to go to the bottom?
And tie it with the youth.
But in the Muli, what is happening now?
As we answer that, we could tie it back to the issue of the university funding model, which faces a similar challenge. It means testing. Because I've had even families, children of the same family, one placed on band 3, another one on band 5, meaning that there's already a problem in the formula and the means testing that you're talking about, that it's not as accurate as it should be. Those are the challenges that could even disenfranchise the youth even more, making them, your brother can access university, you cannot because you...
But in the Muli, we try to... You see the problem, and I said here from the beginning, we need to be patriotic and start looking our country in a positive way. Because let me tell you, right now, we are moving from what we knew. There's no one who gets comfortable moving from what they have always known to get into something new. And every new program that comes in your life has its own teething problems. You see now what he's saying is very healthy. You remember when we came in during Kibaki time in 2002, when there was 100% transition for people to go to schools. What did everybody say? This is the wrong way of doing things. But you see, somewhere on the way, the what was wrong at the beginning came later to be right. Because people, I remember one scholar called Eda Gashukia during Kibaki's time saying, I am liking the crisis. When I see people who never got an opportunity to go to school, going to class and sitting on the floor because they don't have a desk to get education, I am happy. Because somewhere on the way now, I know everybody can access education in Kenya. So what we are saying here is, as you said, there's something you proposed, and I really wanted to say that. Can we all accept that we have gotten it wrong for a couple of years? Can we now start looking at it and tell ourselves, can we have a national conversation when it comes to matters young people? They are now, they're not, I don't know how some of us grew up, because those of us that come from the other generation, young people, like, were never given an opportunity to express themselves. But we have young people who are looking at us in the eyes, even at our homes.
Yes.
And they are telling us what they think is what is supposed to be done right. So what we are saying is this: these people we are leading and are no longer fools. They know what they want in this life. By the way, some of them could even have solutions to these problems. Because like issues of all these computers and everything, these younger people are more informed than the way we are. They could even be understanding why we are in all these crises. Maybe they would understand it is on matters, data or systems and everything. They would understand it better. Somebody needs to bring them on board to help them, to help us as a nation to start speaking the truth and telling us the truth and own our country and believe that if it doesn't work, it won't work for all of us. But now what we are saying, like now I said the funding, the university funding model, they've already gone to court. But looking at it and telling yourself that we are now saying we are going to an opportunity where we will see who gets the bursary and who gets the scholarship. We may be getting it wrong at the beginning. It has a teething problem. But you see, as we get there or somewhere on the way, we will still have to get it. So let's instead of condemning it wholesome, can we have a conversation and say, this is how maybe it's supposed to be done? And as I am telling you, when these young people, these Gen Zs will be brought on board in all these systems, they may be able to even do the data better than the people who are already there. But you see now, when the thing we need to change in this country is stop politicizing everything. Because they say when you want to destroy a nation, you start by destroying its education system.
It is politicians who suggested the kind of timelines we should expect when it comes to progress. During campaigns, you promised 6 months, 100 days, 1 year. 2 years, 2.5 years later, nothing has happened. Bwana Mutunga, are Kenyans wrong in expecting some sense of urgency in provision of some of these solutions?
Kenyans are not wrong in expecting solutions, and very fast for that matter, but naturally things don't happen that way. And that is the most important thing that we need to ensure that our people understand. Things do not happen that fast. There's a law called Murphy's Law. When you're planning, you'll be aware of 3 things. Number 1, everything seems to take longer than it should. And for sure, anything that you try will take longer, not shorter, than it should. And the second one says, if anything can go wrong, it will. So many things you can start and they can go wrong.
They have gone wrong.
So they have gone wrong. But the idea is there should be corrective mechanisms. Well, let me speak to one point, which is that the question we should be asking ourselves is the government actually trying? Is the Kenya Kwanza government trying? And I'm not here to just talk about Kenya Kwanza government. I'm just here to reflect on what the Kenya Kwanza government probably is doing. Are these proposals, for instance, the university funding model, are the intentions right? If the intentions are to make sure that those who cannot completely pay are paid for, those who can pay a certain fraction are allowed to pay that much, and those who can pay fully. I have educated 4 children through university and are paid. I never told them to go for help because I can afford. So it is upon realization that there are people who are willing to assist, to support the government in meeting the cost of education that this model was innovated. But this model has got its own teething problem. Maybe the problem we may be having is the initiation process, the transition. Any change is resistant. Any. Talk about any. Even when you were trying to get married, there are some friends of yours who came and told you, but you can't. That's not the way to go. You need to stay a little bit more. So any change is resistant. Since any change is resistant, then it is the levels of resistance that we need to be checking. Secondly, is our communication. How are we structuring our communication? He's talking about the mean testing right now. How many Kenyans are aware or clear on these issues? Then, what about the percentages that are successful? We always amplify the negatives. How much of what data that has been collected has put people correctly? What is being done to those who are put in the wrong bands in both affordable, in both the education model, the university education model, and also the medical care? Moving towards universal health care, the government has come up with 3 possibilities: the SHA itself, the authority, And then there is the emergency and chronic illnesses, which has never been there. People have been suffering from cancer, HIV and AIDS and others, and they have not been getting treatment. Government comes and says, we want to take care of all Kenyans. Yes, they are sick, but they are Kenyans. And we are willing to take care of them. They don't have to pay. Though we only need to know who are they and which category are we placing them. Those who can pay, they tell us, I don't pay 300. I don't pay 10,000. Maybe for me, I think I pay 15,000 also. For many other Kenyans who cannot pay anything. So why are the Kenyans complaining? Those who cannot, why are they complaining when people are willing and ready to pay for them?
Maybe Kenyans are.
That is the issue. So we need to communicate correctly. And then we need also to realize that Rome was not built in a day. It took time to piece up that particular beautiful city. Yes. And therefore, these possibilities brought by the government are not off.
Okay.
So what we need to do is, communication is important. She has talked about it. He has also alluded to that. It is very key. We need to be systematic in our communication. We need to pass information in a systematic manner. So much, 5% of Kenyans have not transited and they have no problem. Pick a few Kenyans to say they have no problems. We communicated that positive issue, not just 95% has failed.
And also, in the Muli, you were telling us that we gave
suspended.
Yeah, you've also told us that we gave promises that were never fulfilled. But let me tell you, in the Muli, when we got there, like now, we have an issue in our education committee. We have an issue of Moi University, which is at the verge of collapsing. And when we went there on Friday to talk to the management of Moi University, we realized that the journey that has been walked in Moi University was all wrong from the time it was started. So what do we do as a government? We say it will not collapse when we are already here. Something has to be done. Then we propose that there be a caretaker management. As we are doing that, there is also the lecturers are on strike. Why? Because UASU is saying that the government promised to give them 4.3 billion. Why? Because Kenyans now want to talk what is on the social media. These people, UASU, have now come to our meeting 3 times. Yesterday was a 3rd time. We chased them from the meeting because we are asking them, where is the letter you got from Treasury that told you that the government has promised it has 4.3 billion to pay the lecturers? And they say it was verbal. From who? They cannot be able to explain. Why? Because they are also being excited by what is happening in social media. And in the Muli, this is where we need to have an honest conversation, starting with you people, then with all of us, and tell us we have a nation to protect.
I want us to move to a different conversation.
Yes. And I want to do just that. But beginning an honest conversation also means placing priorities so that you do not throw away the baby with the bathwater. And what I'm saying is the natural order of development should be intertwined and not standalone development. Why am I speaking this? She has alluded to some issues that really touch on devolution and how we can be able to touch on development that not only is providing what we need it to do, for example, in terms of services, but also creates opportunity for young people. And what they are saying that Kenya Kwanza government just did try to do that with the housing program, but the housing program is just standalone within itself. Is it creating other opportunities that are intertwined with the development of the Kenya government itself? Now, leave alone now the private sector, but the development of the Kenya Kwanza government, and this is what I am alluding to. When the United States was when depression was there in the United States after the World War II. There was an important program that was initiated in the United States in terms of devolving development in every state, in every county, that ensured that not only development that created job opportunity to create libraries, to create government offices, to create universities, to build all those things, but they served a specific purpose in the structure of development. And that's what we should be doing. Because currently, we have a nation, right now, we do not have junior secondary schools. They are not properly equipped. Why would we divert those construction jobs towards the JSS? Within a very short period of time, we would have JSS schools across the country. We would construct all the primary schools and the equipment that are needed and we are creating the same job opportunities, but they are also serving another purpose to educate our people. And this is the connection that I'm talking about. Because even when you look at devolution in itself, and I like giving practical examples with what we are doing in Murang'a. When we understood that we need to create these opportunities, so what did we do? We decided that part of our 35% of our development budget is going to go towards the construction of ECD centers across Murang'a. So far, we have 700, and we have only done 450. This is in 2 years. That means it's doable.
It's doable.
So does Murang'a get more money than all the other counties in the country? It is just planning. It is just planning and proper conversation.
The conversation that not only the counties, but also the national government. Because when we are doing 450 ECD centers in 2 years, and these are things that can be able to be seen.
Yes.
They have created job opportunity almost in every village.
Let's focus now on devolution.
And this is what I'm saying, priorities and how they should be conducted.
So it means all the way down from the national government right to the county government, everybody doing what they have to do.
But
and people to
be blamed. Because currently, you see, even as we are doing this, currently we are running almost 200 contracts to be filled.
But how many?
But we haven't received money.
That is what I wanted to say. In Demuli, that is what I'm asking. Look at what they are doing even with the young people in Murang'a. Supposing all the other counties are doing something for the young people, we would not be where we are today.
There's already a disagreement at the parliamentary level on how much money should go to the counties. It is one of the headlines, and I wanted us to focus on that as well. It is a topic you've just introduced, how devolution is playing into all this. Still on the development agenda, still on handling the youth and all this. It is the same debate. Has devolution stagnated? Because that's the other question. We are made to understand that a number of counties are not even able to pay salary as it is.
For 3 months.
And that is where we expect some of the solutions to come from, Bwana Mutunga. Did we get it right in devolution?
I think the reason why we got devolution is because we wanted to devolve decision-making and allocation of resources to very strategic projects that help our people out. And what the Deputy Governor Murang'a is saying is basically that is the essence of devolution. Nobody dictates to any county what the content and context of their CIDP is supposed to be. They basically sit and say, these are the priorities, and this is what we are going to do with the money we have. So if a county decides to go off, it becomes around the county, then of course nothing will be done. But if you focus, look at the last, the previous, I think the first and second session of devolved governments, the first 10 years. There is a county everybody admired, Makueni. Makueni is an ASAL, arid and semi-arid. It has very few possibilities, but somebody called Professor Kiboda went and did a few things, which organized things and people saw life. I mean, they saw hope, they got hope in living and working in that particular county. It means that if a governor really decides to transform a county, they can. It means that really, if you rationalize on resource allocation and the prioritization of the projects that you decide are supposed to be. By the way, we are also members of parliament. She's a member of county. She's a county member of parliament. I'm a constituency member of parliament. If you look at what we are doing even as members of parliament, just go and evaluate what is the money called CDF doing. How is it being applied to development? Look at what counties are doing. So not that really there is no effort. There's a lot of effort to develop our regions. There's a lot of effort to vibrate this economy. But the decisions made at the unit that basically makes the decision is what matters.
Yet if we're struggling to fund the devolved units at this point, it's only 14 years since promulgation of the Constitution. If we're struggling to fund the devolved units, it means that we already have a problem as it is. 3 months without salaries, that's talking about devolved units that handle the health system of this country. It means there's a problem there. Where is the money going?
Let me tell you, Ndimuli, one thing, we all live in this country and we understand what happens in Kenya. The Deputy Governor Murang'a has just said the kind of things they are doing in Murang'a. But I would want to tell you and say to this national TV, facing you in the eyes, that if all governors are doing what they are supposed to do, all of us would transform this country.
And if all cabinet secretaries are supposed to do what they
if all cabinet secretaries are doing what they are supposed
to be doing,
this country would be changing. Because the kind of money that goes to counties, there are counties, I don't want to mention them, but even you know, there are counties that do literally nothing, and the governor makes sure there is nothing the people can be able to do. And this is where we said from the beginning, can we have now a national conversation? When you go to Murang'a, as he said, you drive around Murang'a. When he talks about the Murang'a Youth Service, I don't live in Murang'a. But anytime I go across Murang'a, I'm able to find these young people on the streets, and I'm told in youth, ya Murang'a wanafanya kazi hapa. So the Wajiko we have now is not a Wajiko that we used to tell stories. It's a Wajiko who wants to hear. There is a Murang'a Youth Service. When you drive to Murang'a, you go and find them there. It is not about stories. But I can tell you today in Dimuli, the kind of money that is being disbursed to the county governments, if every governor does what they are supposed to do, we will transform this country. And this is why I told you, we need to have a national conversation and speak to ourselves. Because if we don't, the Gen Zs are going to do it how they know it better. Why? Because you look at the kind of money that is this. Now they are saying that they are not able to pay salaries. I don't know, we are not able to do what. But then even if you go to some of these counties, I'm not saying all, if you go to some of these counties, you will find, you go to all the primary schools, you find a class, yeah, CDF, you find a program, yeah, CDF, but you rarely find those big programs zenye zinafanywa na county government, some of them. And you literally find a majority of them doing literally nothing. And I think we need to open up in the mood that conversation and ask ourselves, what do most of these governors do with this money?
We're at a point where now governors are demanding for an increased allocation. The central government says they can only afford 380. They're demanding.
Let them account for what they have done in the past years.
I've sat in the Budget and Appropriation Committee, and I know what it means to really apportion these resources. And I know that if the governors made their case, if they really made their case with evidence, I don't think anybody would say that they should not be increased their money. But if the money is just to be misappropriated and misused, it would be wrong for the National Assembly to sit and keep on apportioning. Let the governors come up with their success stories. Let's see the transformation that is happening at the county level. Let's see how they are engaging our people. Let's see how they are transforming lives.
Are we saying there's doubt on the feasibility of some of these?
Yes. How many governors can come and sit here?
I think governors are scapegoats when it comes to some of these issues. And allow me to use a very practical example. And we are going to look, because if we are having honest conversations, then it not only needs to look at what the county governor is doing, but it also needs to look at what the CSS and the national government are doing with their ministries. And I'm going to use the health department and the health ministry, for example. In Murang'a, and across all counties combined, the total budget of all the health sector, the governors who are running the level 2s, the level 3s, the level 4s, the level 5s is infrastructure. Paying the salaries, buying medicine, non-farms, laboratories, and all those. A combined budget of 75 billion. The Ministry of Health here at the national government, which is only responsible for the education, the research, the issues of policy, and the issues of clinical officers, the internship. They have a budget of almost twice what all the counties have. When I come to appropriation, for example, and I'm going to look at my budget. My budget, we have allocated a third of the entire county's budget goes to healthcare. That means in my budget of 10 billion, 3.1 billion is healthcare. That is in Murang'a alone. But I still have the deficit. I still have a deficit of 250 nurses that need employment. I have a deficit of 50 clinical officers who need employment. I have a deficit of lab technicians, pharmacists, and I still cannot afford enough medicine. I need to appropriate almost 600 million in medicine. I can only afford 400 million. That means I can only satisfy 60% of what the medical requirements are in Murang'a. And when we go to the law that is made for the county government, then I'm told that then my budget, I cannot pass above 35% in terms of salaries. Because then if I cannot pass 35% in terms of salaries, Right now in Murang'a, we are at 46% in salaries. How am I going to employ?
Almost 50% of your...
Almost 50% is going to salaries.
Is that feasible? Isn't that an employment bureau?
Look at, you see, it's going to the entire question of budget and what they are talking about. Go to ECD classrooms. I have 700 ECD centers requiring almost 2,000 ECD teachers. I cannot employ more ECD teachers. I only have 1,400. I cannot employ. I have a deficit of almost 600. And that is the truth across sectors in the county government. And yet, when we are talking about appropriation of more funds, then it means then I have to come now to look at then the development on this other side. I'm telling you, it's a miracle that now in Murang'a, even with that constrained budget, that we are doing renovation of every sub-county hospital in Murang'a, because that is on development side. And that money is protected towards development. But when it comes to the issues of recurrent, and they do not want to talk about that, because when they are dealing with issues within where they appropriate funds within their CDF, how they manage funds within the CDF does not have a huge wage bill. It doesn't have a huge wage bill. Yeah. The county governments are literally faced with issues of wage bills. And this is a conversation that they want just to see that the small money, for example, what we appropriate for development and whatever we have done in Murang'a, it's less than 40% towards development.
Are you misjudging
No, let's really say something. I respect this Deputy Governor a lot, but two things are not coming out right. Number one, you told us that 30% of your money is going to ECD.
Yes.
You told us 46% of your money.
Development budget.
You told us a third of your money is going to health.
Yes.
That's already 106%. If I may, are you saying? Please
no.
Go back to your figures.
Let me put it right.
No, I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying that go back, visit your figures first before you tell the next.
Let me put it right. I want to correct. I want to correct.
Allow your figures right.
I want to correct. No, allow me to correct. Allow me to correct.
Then correct.
When I said a third of the development budget goes to the ECD, which means of the development budget, not the total budget.
Okay.
When I talked about health, I was talking about a third of the total budget.
Okay.
Not the development.
Those are the distinctions you need to make. Now, let me come back to Murang'a. You know, we are discussing Murang'a because Murang'a is a case example in Kenya that you can. But when you argue that way, you protect the wrong people. You are putting the hyenas with the sheep. We are saying, can we have counties rationalizing development? What was the meaning of, as per the meaning of devolution? If you are given an accountant, you are given resources, utilize these resources, let's see it, then argue your case.
Are you saying they have to justify what they are doing for them to get resources?
Not really.
Not really justify, but in Ndimuli, are you living outside Kenya? Are you a Kenyan?
No, but is it a legal requirement?
Even if you are not from West Indies, you know what is happening at the counties today. By the way, if you go to most counties, you realize that the only thing that probably is apparent is a bit of, cabro in a few small towns. And, that's it. Small things that don't make sense. Now, what makes sense is how do we engage our people to give them opportunities to grow. And the kind of things they're doing in Murang'a are laudable. But what about the other counties? Sometimes when you listen to them, but I'm talking as a CDF manager. If I may say CDF manager, I oversight my CDF. And I would like anybody to come and say Mutunga did this, which is not right. Or even a cent went out of the system. The idea is you are given money by the government to make sure people benefit. If you're not using that money to benefit people, you're benefiting yourself. Then how can you come and say, the national coffers, please give us more money to benefit ourselves?
So, and in Ndimuli, the reason we are talking about conversation, you also need to tell us, you as a media personality, how many governors and deputy governors can come and sit like Munani here and discuss their counties and tell you what they do with that money? Very few. Very few can come. And I'm sure you know, there are those you invite here, they can never come here because they cannot even tell you what they do with that money. He will come because of what they are doing that is in the public domain. People are able to see. How many other counties are having billions of money they can never account for, even telling people what they are doing?
But then the conversation has...
And now we need to have, and now in Ndimuli, this is where we are saying, in matters devolution, no, I'm only saying...
Even CDF, you're not required to justify
what you do. It is, even me,
when is the last time did you
even even me, I have gaff. You also need to tell me, even me, I have gaff. And when I have gaff, I don't have to clarify what I have done and everything and whatever. Now we are saying
to be providing that card of your gaff. If the governor has to justify, then even your CDF, you have to justify. And my score, I got 140 million shillings.
If we go that direction,
yes.
Or you don't have to justify, that's where we go wrong.
Is it a legal
We need to account for the last
cent.
You
need to account up to the last cent.
So
that when you are talking about the governor,
we need to have, not just the governor, we need to have, we talked from the beginning that he talked about communication when we started the conversation. He talked about communication. We also have talked about a national dialogue and people speaking to one another.
Yes.
Why should we speak to one another? Because in Dimuli, me, I can say and tell you this for sure. The kind of money Kenya has is actually enough for all of us. If it was put into proper use and shared properly. What problems are we having? I've asked you in Dimuli with a very honest mind. How many governors or deputy governors can come and sit where Munania is seated and discuss what they are doing with their money in their counties? So what are we saying as a country? That pesa tu ni kuenda tu inaenda. And I think that what we are telling ourselves is, can we call ourselves together? Because we are still trying to put this devolution in order. So can we call ourselves into a meeting again? Instead of throwing words at one another, can we call ourselves again and ask ourselves, 10 years, 12 years after devolution, what are we not getting right? Or what are we exactly getting right? What did we want to achieve in devolution? Have we so far gotten it? Are we there already? Or is there anything we need to look at and change? Even in our marriages, when we get married, there are things we go and look at 5 years later. This guy got married last year. This year, he needs to go back and assess where did we get it right? Where have we got it in it wrong for us to continue moving? But you see now, when we say, can we look at this devolution issue with governors and see what we are doing? People need to come to the table and ask ourselves, are we getting it right? But I am asking you in Dimuli, and I'll ask you at that time. I am sure, and you know, how many governors and deputy governors can come and sit, look at you in the eyes the way Munania is looking at you.
With the same measure.
He's only looking at you because he knows they have delivered in Murang'a.
With the same measure, when we are having an honest conversation, I would also want to see members of parliament sitting and indicating what they have done with the CDFs. With the same measure, I would want to see women reps in every county
what they have done with
their scorecard. Exactly. With every measure, I would also want to see the CSs come and defend their entire budget. Yes. What they have done with their budget, what goes where, and the rationale about what goes where.
And that is because the conversation we need to go around as a country.
If the governor has to go and defend so that he gets more money, then even the CS for health, when he needs more money, he needs to defend. When they want more money for the road maintenance levy, they must first of all show what they have done.
Correct.
Because in some of the constituencies, they have not done a single road.
And that road maintenance...
They have not done a single road. But they are the ones holding up the county funding and saying that they cannot give us more money because they want more money for road maintenance levy.
Is that where the problem is?
You see, they want more money without accounting for it. But then they cannot give the county governors the same benefit of doubt.
Point made, Bonamania. Is there a competition between members of the National Assembly?
They want governors' seats. They want governors' seats.
Now, let me tell you something. I want to declare that I am not interested in being a governor.
I'm also not interested, by all means.
Not in 2027. That's very important. Number two, I would like when I stand before Meru, for people to look at my development record.
Yes.
Not to look at how tall I am or how much noise I can make in the media houses. That's not the issue. What we want to tell Kenyans is, please elect somebody who will cause development. Let there be some track record of development. Mm-hmm. If somebody has never done anything in their life, if the only thing somebody has done is about his micro family, then how can you give him a county's job? If there's somebody associated with corruption and misuse and mismanagement, then even if he makes the loudest noise, how do you associate such a person with development? They will not develop your county. They will just develop their stomachs and their people. So we're having a conversation to tell Kenyans, it is time to look at politics as a tool to development.
I asked you a question about
politics for development. I'm coming back to your question.
Now the question, road maintenance levy.
The question of road maintenance levy. In Dimuli, you know very well that this country has got several sets of roads. There are those roads that are classified as B and A. There are those that are in the middle, and there are those that are other roads. Now, we have done a lot of roads, which are called low-volume seal roads, but there has never been any provision for maintenance of those roads. Remember, during Moi's time, all Kenyan roads were potholes. Now, we are going back there. There is no maintenance fund for these roads. So how do you continue making roads if you can't maintain what you have? So some of these thoughts around the maintenance levy is actually supposed to the fuel levy is supposed to receive some money for maintaining the roads that we already have, even as we open more tarmac roads. And that, I think, is a structured way of doing development. So it's really not something of, and there is nowhere you can't borrow.
Is there disagreement on who should administer this and how that fund should be shared? Is it through CDF?
You see, when devolution was formed, some of those responsibilities were supposed to go to the county governments. But you also understood that these were some of the lawmakers belong to the National Assembly. So they put that levy in terms of maintenance in the CDF kitty.
No, let me tell you.
At the national government, because tell me, who is more better placed with the necessary infrastructure to do and inspire development in the counties up to every other village, if not the county governments, in a devolved unit?
Allow me to correct this.
From what?
I'll give you an opportunity.
From what I gather, you see, even from a county perspective, our priorities when it comes even to road maintenance, we have not that support that they are talking about, and in fact, it is very minimal. And when we are trying to do that, the only roads that are classified to be done by the county is the one to get to some of those homes. These are small access roads, zile za kupitia kwa mguu. Those are the only ones the counties can do. But you also find that when we are having the conversation, and this is why I said an honest conversation, because it cannot be an honest conversation that only favors where you sit. Okay. Because I would want to believe that Wamuratha would be a governor one day. And I'm telling you that when that happens, she is going to be the first one to indicate that this money should have been appropriated.
Bwana Mutunga.
Yeah, let me say this. In this country's development, especially in the road sector, is very well structured. We have institutions that are specialized in road construction and maintenance. Some of these institutions is Kura for urban roads, Kenha for highways, and Kera for rural roads. Now, when it comes to the 10% of the fuel levy that is given to Kera, let me correct that. It's not given to CDF. Member of Parliament has absolutely nothing to do with that money. It is given to Kera. So if the county government wants to reign over Kera to point at the roads that needs to be maintained, well and good. But let me say this. That 10% goes to Kera, which has regional units. In my county, it has a unit. It has the expertise and management that does the management of the roads. It is not the Member of Parliament. The Member of Parliament only points, this road is having very many potholes. This year, please consider putting it.
CDF, yeah.
Put it, not CDF. This money is with Kera, Kenya Rural Roads Authority, coming from the ministry to Kera. Okay. Yeah? So there is no contact between the two. So I don't see where the competition should come in. Okay.
There is contact.
So where is the contact?
There is contact, because when you have the responsibility of indicating what is to be done, and you are only doing it within the only section within your own constituents, then you find that you have no county vision to be able to do this. This responsibility doesn't have the wider vision of a county. Because a county development plan. Remember, when you are doing special planning, when you are doing urban planning, when you are doing all those things, they are done by the counties. They are done by the municipalities. But then, how can we articulate that we need certain development and we have a part development plan, we have a county plan, but then we have no responsibility of providing those development?
Okay. Because of time, I'll do this. I'll give each of you 2 minutes to make the final
remarks. Let me to correct what he has said, because...
Are you taking 2 minutes?
Number one, constituencies are in counties. So constituencies are not without county, they are not outside the county, so they will not do roads outside that particular county. Secondly, the members of parliament are very close to the people. They know actually which roads has really bothered people a lot. Number three, county governments have been given those roads, the minor roads. We haven't seen great performance in those minor roads. So when you argue that we want to be given major roads, honestly, we need to see
you see the word one, we need to
show that
it's only a governor who needs to justify.
The small roads you are given,
he doesn't justify on his.
So the idea is that we are, constituencies, if the constituencies are within counties, they are doing roads within the counties. So really I don't see any conflict here. Okay. I think the idea is different. The motive is very different. And that motive should be fought by all means.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Deputy Governor, you go next.
Thank you very much. I would want to welcome the healthy conversation that we are having in terms of looking at the nature or the state of the nation with a development eye. And for the people of Murang'a, we want to keep our promise that we made to them, that we are going to ensure that our 40,000 households that we gave Kangata Care cards, even after transition to SHA and SHIF, we are going to continue supporting them. With the promise that we did make that we are going to do all the 700 ECD centers. So far, we have 450. We are going to go to 700 within the next 2 years. That the promise we made to them that we are going to continue providing a school feeding program for our ECD learners, our UGI program. That the 42,000 children are still getting their UGI on a daily basis without paying. We want to extend now that program to the primary schools. Even after I come out here, we are going to sign one of the MOUs with IGTRC so that they can allow us to do a school feeding program for the primary schools. That also the promise that we did make to renovate and improve our healthcare system, that we are still going to be able to do that. So far, we have done 7 sub-county hospitals and 1 specialist hospital called Kenneth Matiba. We want to make we want to tell our people, they be patient with us. They have seen what we are going to that we are continuing to do, and we are going to continue to make that promise that we did make to them. And finally, as we transition to SHIF and SHA, I want to urge every Kangata Care recipient in Murang'a. We have a 16 days campaign that they need to turn up so that they register. We do means testing for them. The county is going to pay for that. Also want to tell them that those facing chronic illnesses, we just established 2 new dialysis centers, one in Kegumo Level 4 Hospital and another in Murang'a Level 5 Hospitals. They both can now provide up to 60 sessions of dialysis per week. So they are welcome to enjoy those services.
Thank you. And probably that's a justification that
and finally, I would want to say that we need these kinds of conversation where we speak to ourselves and to our country. And I would want to request my colleagues, when we are in politics, that there are things we politicize, but let us not gamble with the lives of our children. When it comes to education, when it comes to matters health, let's keep politics aside so that we can have a very honest conversation with ourselves so that we restore the future of this nation in terms of our education. Let not anybody now come because the bans in the education have not worked in your county. Now the solution you can give is Munichague 2027. You're not giving us a solution. Need to talk to us and say, this is not the way to do it. Can we try to do it this way? Let's gamble with everything else, but not with our children and the health of this country. The other thing I would want to speak to Wajiko, I'm still willing to be in SHA, now to deduct my 27,000 for the sake of the Wajiko who is paying 300, so that next time I don't get a card for a Harambe to go for treatment for cancer. This person will get treatment in my Kiambu hospital that is just within Kiambu here. They will get treatment there and they will not come looking for me to fundraise for their treatment. They will be treated and walk home. I am ready to be deducted my salary to pay for that, to make sure Wajiko goes to hospital. So whoever else is selling all these lies in this country, please, let's love our nation. In Ndimuli, my special request to the media houses, let's now invite people for honest conversations and not just to come and politicize the nation. Kila saa, munapenda siasa za kila siku.
Yeah, in Ndimuli, let me say this. Let Kenyans not go to hospital when they are sick before they register. Let's take the opportunity to register quickly. Because unless your data is captured, then you will not be able to get the medical services. You will have a problem. So let's first of all prioritize registration with SHA so that we have, the data is taken and the mean testing is done correctly so that we may be able to correct properly. Finally, let whoever has been given responsibility in this country to cost development do it. And let the agencies and everybody in this country, all the people personally responsible, Let's stop this business of my office is doing this, my that. If you are responsible of managing resources or oversighting resources, let's hold you personally responsible. And finally, let us reward only those who have been able also to do the right thing.
Yes.
As a country, we should also not stop recycling thieves.
Okay.
I think we need to stop that. You cannot be promoting people who have been...
John Kanyuithia Mutunga, MP Tigania West, asante sana. Anne Wamuratha, Woman Representative Kiambu, and Stephen Munania, Deputy Governor, Murang'a County. Thank you so much for your very well-considered opinions on these issues we've talked about. Today, it's not that there was no politics on the front pages. There is quite some politics. On the front page of the Star, they talk about Ruto's plan to get trailer support for 2027 race, and the president is back on the drawing board for that. On the front page of Taifa Leo anasema pesa za Raila zaenda wapi? Pesa za kampeni ya AUC zimepotea, zimeenda wapi?
You're feeling cheated that it was not part of the debate.
Anaongea kuhusu wabunge wako mashakani kule mlimani. Something that we should have talked about but we didn't. That's a conversation we'll talk about some other time. Thank you so much for that conversation. Coming up after the break, long distance relationships, that's a discussion. Jen Gitao, psychologist, and Gabriel Nyamu, Papa's coach, will be here for that. So do stand by for that and a lot more. It's Tasty Wednesday, so we'll be cooking up something later on. My name is Freddie Ndimuli. Good morning.